Thank you for that live report. Turning now to an update on a story we brought you a few weeks back. A man convicted of a decades-old murder in Springfield was released in July after serving 41 years in prison. Now, the Hampden District Attorney's Office has made a decision on whether they'll retry the case. The Hampden DA's office has entered a nol pros in the case against Edward Wright, effectively ending prosecution of the 1984 murder of Penny Anderson. Now, this comes as a Superior Court judge granted Wright a new trial 4 decades after his conviction. The guilty ruling was upheld 5 separate times over the last 40 years by judges of both the Massachusetts Trial Court and the Supreme Judicial Court. The video you've been watching is the day last month when Wright was officially released. Hampden District Attorney Anthony Gallooni saying in a statement, "Our decision to dismiss the case does not mean that this was a wrongful conviction or that we believe the defendant is innocent. It is a legal and ethical decision based solely on the reality that 40 years later, we cannot reconstruct the trial that occurred in 1985. The District Attorney's Office says they continue to stand by the integrity of the outcome reached by the jury.